$15 million for Malik Willis while doubting Shedeur? That's not competition. That's a message.
Now the Cleveland media is pushing the idea of him signing to the Browns for a $15 to $20 million contract. What are we talking about? He goes on to say Malik has never been on Shedeur Sanders' level. He is not now and will never be on Shedeur Sanders' level. No disrespect to Malik Willis.
Packers quarterback Malik Willis. Do we pay the man coming off an 81.1 PFF grade in limited work for Green Bay? Right now he's projected to get a 2-year, $40 million contract with $30 guaranteed, but there might be several fits in free agency where you could find a starting opportunity like the Indianapolis Colts, the Arizona Cardinals, and the Miami Dolphins. With such a thin quarterback draft class on our hands, if I'm one of those three teams, I'm absolutely giving Malik Willis a shot at that 2-year contract.
The numbers on Malik Willis, I just mentioned them, on deep passes. Look, everybody wants that. Nobody has that. You've got the Seahawks have explosive plays, but even Mahomes, the Chiefs are going to talk themselves back into Tyreek Hill because of how hard explosive plays are in that league. Deep passes, 13 for 15 for 450 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's obviously a tiny sample size, but the only advantage the Dolphins have, actually, is twofold. They've got his management team, and they've got the opportunity to build the whole thing around him.
Yo, the $15 million Malik Willis leak just dropped, and the Shedeur Sanders camp is not having it. Not even a little bit. Cleveland thought they could quietly float this backup quarterback narrative into the atmosphere, and nobody was going to check them on it. But the numbers are out. The resume is out, and Shedeur Nation is putting everybody in that building on full blast right now. You want to know why Shedeur Sanders would be absolutely right to reject any contract conversation that comes with this kind of disrespect attached to it? Because the receipts are devastating, and we're about to lay every single one of them out for you today. Don't go anywhere, because this story hits different when you see the actual numbers side by side.
Give Shedeur Sanders a season. Let's get him ready all summer. Give him a shot. I think, I thought though he had good moments. I thought he looked a lot like a rookie quarterback. We've seen, terrible rookies over the years become stars in their second, third season. So if I were them, I would give him a chance, and let's see what the year is, knowing that there's a pretty good quarterback class in the draft in 2027.
All right, let's set the foundation here, because I need you to understand how deep this goes before we get to the rejection angle. The Cleveland Browns have had one consistent storyline since the Haslam family took over ownership of that franchise, and it's not winning games, it's not building a dynasty, it's not developing young talent, it's chasing quarterbacks every single offseason, like it's the only thing they know how to do. Every year, a new name. Every year, a new experiment. Every year, the same result. And now that they finally have Shedeur Sanders in the building, a quarterback with a resume that should end all debate immediately, they're out here leaking $15 million conversations about Malik Willis like Shedeur isn't even in the room. That's not a football decision. That's a disrespect decision. And let's be extremely clear about something before we go any further, because I know some of y'all are already typing in the comments that competition is good, that every quarterback should have to earn it. And look, competition is fine in theory, but here's the question nobody in the Cleveland media wants to answer directly. Why is it that Drake May doesn't have to compete? Why is it that other first-round quarterbacks around the NFL get handed the keys to the franchise and told to drive from day one, but every single time it comes to Shedeur Sanders, suddenly there needs to be an open competition. Suddenly there needs to be a veteran presence brought in at $15 million who's going to push him for snaps? The double standard isn't even hiding anymore, bro. It's walking around in broad daylight wearing a name tag. Now let me pull up the Malik Willis file, because this is where the story gets almost comical. The Cleveland media has been selling this man like he's a hidden gem, like they found some secret weapon that the rest of the league overlooked. So let's actually go to the tape. As a senior at Liberty, not a Power 5 school, not the Big 12, not the SEC, Malik Willis threw for 2,800 yards and 27 touchdowns while completing 60% of his passes. His competition included North Texas and Eastern Michigan. Those are the defenses he was cooking against to build his college resume. Now, flip it. Shedeur Sanders, as a senior in the Big 12, one of the toughest conferences in college football, full of future NFL players on both sides of the ball, threw for 4,100 yards, 37 touchdowns, and completed 74% of his passes against coordinators who get paid millions specifically to stop quarterbacks like him, against defensive backs who are now on NFL rosters, against programs that send players to the draft every single year. 1,300 more yards, 10 more touchdowns, 14 percentage points higher in completion rate against exponentially more dangerous competition, and Cleveland wants to hand $15 million to the Liberty resume over the Big 12 resume? Come on, man. Come on.
It's in here. So touchdown passes versus teams over 500. Shedeur Sanders has 3. Drake May has 2. Just food for thought. Shedeur Sanders had a more regular season touchdown passes versus teams over 500 than Drake May this season. Touchdown passes versus teams over 500. Look, this is a whole nother video in itself. But it's cool. We gonna leave that right here. I want to pull up this. See, I'm a guy, and I like to pull up the resume.
But here's where it really falls apart for the Willis argument. Because somebody is always going to say college stats don't matter, the NFL is a different beast entirely. Fine, let's go to the NFL numbers then. Malik Willis has started a grand total of 6 games in his professional career. 6 games across multiple seasons in the league. And the breakdowns from those starts are something else entirely. In one start, he went 6 for 10, 55 yards, 1 interception, and 0 touchdowns. Another start, 5 for 16, 80 yards, 0 touchdowns. Another one, 16 for 25, 135 yards, 0 touchdowns. He sucked in 5 out of those 6 starts. That's not a rough patch, that's a pattern. His one good game, came last season filling in for Jordan Love with Green Bay. 1 game out of 6 career starts. And the Cleveland media is ready to invest $15 to $20 million in that single game sample size over a quarterback who completed 74% of his passes in the Big 12 and had more touchdown passes against winning teams as a rookie than Drake May did in his entire first season? What are we actually talking about here? And this is the part that would make any self-respecting quarterback step back from contract conversations and say, hold on. Because it's not just about the money, it's about what that money represents. When an organization leaks that they're considering a $15 million deal for a backup quarterback who has less NFL starts than you do after 4 years in the league, they're not just making a roster move, they're sending a message. They're saying publicly, whether they intend to or not, that they don't fully trust you, that they're hedging, that they're keeping the back door open. And for a quarterback like Shedeur Sanders, who was raised by Deion Sanders, a man who built his entire identity around never giving anyone reason to doubt his commitment or his ceiling, that kind of organizational noise is poison. But wait, because here's the layer that makes this whole situation even more wild. Even the analysts who aren't in Shedeur's corner, who don't have a dog in this fight, who are just looking at the situation from a pure football evaluation standpoint, even they are saying Cleveland needs to back off the Willis narrative and give Shedeur a real shot. The clip is right there in the source. Straight up, the analyst says he's not sold on Willis as a star in the league. He says Deshaun Watson is clearly not the long-term answer. And then he says if he were Cleveland, he would give Shedeur Sanders a full season with first-team reps starting in July. Not second team, not third team, first-team reps from day 1 of training camp. And that analyst's point about the 2027 draft class is actually brilliant when you think about it, because it reframes the entire argument. He's saying, look, there's a strong quarterback class coming in 2 years, so give Shedeur a legitimate runway this season. If it works, you found your franchise guy, and you don't need 2027. If it doesn't work, you reassess then, but you have to actually give him the real opportunity first. You can't hand him third-team reps all offseason, bring in a $15 million backup who creates headlines and locker room noise, and then act surprised when the development isn't where you need it to be. That's not evaluation. That's sabotage dressed up as roster management.
Shedeur Sanders had a more regular season touchdown passes versus teams over 500 than Drake May this season. Touchdown passes versus teams over 500. Look, this is a whole nother video in itself. But it's cool. We gonna leave that right here. I want to pull up this. See, I'm a guy, and I like to pull up the resume because we got to go over the resume.
Now, here's the stat that I keep coming back to because it just refuses to let me move on, and it shouldn't let you move on either. Shedeur Sanders, as a rookie, had more touchdown passes against teams over 500 than Drake May did this season. More than Drake May, the guy who was playing with a full supporting cast in a system built around him with months of first-team reps under his belt. Shedeur Sanders, coming off the bench in a broken situation without the full season of starter reps, still outperformed Drake May in the single most meaningful efficiency stat for a quarterback. And had Shedeur been the starter for the full season, the source says it plainly, he probably would have had more passing yards than Drake May. And Sam Darnold, a guy who's been in the league for years and just had the best season of his career with an elite supporting cast around him. Shedeur was already trending toward those numbers with a fraction of the opportunity. So when people ask why Shedeur Nation is fired up right now, why there's this energy around rejecting the direction Cleveland seems to be heading with these Willis leaks, this is exactly why. Because the numbers at every single level of evaluation point in the same direction. High school, college, the Big 12 resume, rookie efficiency against winning teams. Every data point says the same thing, and yet Cleveland keeps manufacturing reasons to create uncertainty around their own quarterback. The right move, the move that protects the franchise, that protects the investment, that maximizes what Cleveland actually has, is not complicated. Shedeur Sanders goes into training camp as the unquestioned number one. Malik Willis money gets redirected toward protecting number 12 and putting weapons around number 12. Every offensive resource, every salary cap decision, every coaching priority gets aimed at making Shedeur Sanders' development environment as clean and as competitive and as supportive as possible. That's how you build a quarterback. That's how you build a franchise. That's how teams that have been to Super Bowls actually operate. Not by leaking $15 million backup contracts to the media while your franchise quarterback is still trying to find his footing in the league. The fans see it. The analysts see it. Shedeur Nation definitely sees it. The only people who don't seem to see it are the people inside that Cleveland building who keep replaying the same off-season story on a loop like they've got nothing better to do with their quarterback situation than create drama where there doesn't need to be any. Men lie, women lie. The numbers never lie. Not the college numbers, not the rookie efficiency numbers, not the touchdown against winning teams numbers, not any of them. And every single one of those numbers is telling Cleveland the same thing right now. Stop playing games with Shedeur Sanders before you regret it. So here's what I want from you in the comments, and be real with me. If you're a Cleveland Browns fan and you're watching this $15 million Malik Willis leak play out in real time, does this make you more confident or less confident that this organization actually knows what they have in Shedeur Sanders? And if you're riding with Shedeur, what would you need to see from Cleveland this offseason to believe they're finally serious about building around their quarterback the right way? Drop it below. I'm reading every single comment, and this conversation is going to be everything. The $15 million leak is out. The numbers are out. The resume is out. And the verdict from anyone who actually checks the tape instead of running narratives is crystal clear. Shedeur Sanders is not the problem in Cleveland. The problem is an organization that keeps finding new ways to make their own franchise quarterback feel like a question mark instead of the answer. If you want to stay locked in on every Shedeur Sanders update, every Browns roster move, and every moment the NFL media tries to rewrite this story, hit that subscribe button right now. We're not letting a single thing slide, and we're just getting warmed up.